Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to each one of you. This is Violet once again, a psychotherapist, a social scientist, and a gender specialist. Greeting you from Netherlands. I believe that everyone has had a great day today. In today's video, we are going to look at meeting our shadow self. Meeting our shadow self. How does this happen, and what is our shadow self? Our shadow self is that part or the dark part of ourselves which contains the unwanted feelings or the negative traits which we wouldn't like to bring into our consciousness. And therefore then what we do, we push it back into our unconsciousness so that it doesn't appear in our consciousness. Take an example. How do we develop this kind of shadow self, or the unwanted feelings, or the dark part of ourselves that we wouldn't love to recall? As we grow up at home and in schools, we tend to go through different experiences. And for instance, sometimes some students in school sometimes labeled different names, either they are incapable of coping up in class, or they are not brave enough, and therefore, or sometimes some students or some children are punished because of not meeting certain expectations. So what happens in future, as this child grows, she develops some kind of unworthiness. And every time she's in a group, she feels, I cannot make it, because she recalls what happened to him in school or her, that I couldn't pass exam, I couldn't meet deadlines. So it grows. It's a feeling that grows. So it is a feeling that is really unwanted and unappreciated. But what do I do? Because I do not want always to show people that I have that kind of a feeling of unworthiness in public, I push it to subconsciousness. And therefore, I try to develop a different persona that is kind of impressive to the public and to the society. But one of the writers, Carl Jung, who developed this theory, encouraged that it's very, very important in life to meet our shadow selves, because the shadow self is not 100% bad, because it awakens the other part of ourselves and it brings it forth before us, and we can grow from that. This calls acceptance and this calls courage, because according to him, he encouraged that if one wants to meet his shadow self, you must have a safe environment where you sit and you recall all the negative humiliations, rejections, exclusions, discriminations that you have gone through in life, and therefore you try to see how to live with them positively. In life, take an example where you have a light. If you have light, or where you have sun and you are trying to walk. So when you are trying to walk and you look on your left or your right, you might see a shadow of yourself following you. As you continue to walk very fast, it also walks very fast. If you try to run away from it, it would also chase you. This is the shadow I'm talking about. This is a part of you, the dark part of you that you wouldn't want to see, but whether you take a plane and fly to another country, the dark part of yourself would fly with you. And therefore, how do we deal with this dark part of ourselves? Is what we are talking about right now. To befriend it, to like it, because it is part and parcel of ourselves. And that's why some of the psychologists recommended that in most cases we have mental breakdown because we have not been able to deal with ourselves. There's a lot that we are carrying in our subconsciousness. There's a lot that is following us. There's a lot that other people are not able to see, but for us we know. So how do we befriend our shadow self? That is the hardest part. I'm going to. How do we accept? How do we appreciate? How do we learn to love ourselves? According to Carl Jung, we learn to love our shadow self by loving ourselves so much, surprise ourselves so much. If you were kind of rejected or frustrated in your childhood or in your relationship, I tried to love this person and he was not lovable. I tried to give my gifts, but my gifts proved futile. Let me surprise those gifts with myself. Let me also gift myself. Let me take myself out. Let me try to go and meet people I believe they are my friends. People I believe they love me. The dark part of ourselves is the inability to accept that the whole world cannot love you. The whole world cannot love me. You have to experience some rejections. You have to experience some exclusions in life. And if you happen to be picking stamps and say you see some kind of rejections and you pick it, you see some kind of social exclusions and you pick it, you carry it with you, that's why in life we will never be contented. Our personalities will always be broken. We shall never reconstruct ourselves. So let's come to the reality of appreciating who we are, that we will have the light part of ourselves and we will have the dark part of ourselves, and therefore these two parts are inseparable. We move with them. And learning to write down your experiences helps you to heal. Our life, or our human life, is like a river that meanders. It has corners and it has the straight paths. And some of these corners you might find that maybe the river is trying to dry. That is the part of ourselves that we felt dryness, that we felt empty, that we had no one to support us. We had no one to be there for us. But when you bring all this together, we integrate the shadow self into the light self, then you become a whole human being. So I call upon each of you listening to my video, let's try and accept ourselves the way we are created, because we are like a raw material. When we get these experiences that come to us, it's like a raw materials which we are given. So these raw materials, it can be like a clay. When you are given clay, you can mold it. You can make an art that you want to see. I can decide to make a pot, and that pot can be used to carry water. Meaning, if I try to reconstruct myself, if I accept the dark part of myself, and I have the capacity to reconstruct my personality, to amend it, to make it better, to make myself better, to use my experiences to make myself whole again. So as I'm ending this video, I call each one of you to sit down, to find that right moment and that safe space to befriend your shadow self. As I said earlier, even if you take a plane and fly overseas, you will still carry the shadow self, because you just hid it in subconsciousness, in your unconsciousness, and therefore every time it tries to come out, you say, okay, I want to spend this day in night prayer. So you might find that all the time you are spending your days in night prayers or in clubs, or you are surrounded by multitudes of people. Confront your fears. Think about your fears. What are you fearing? Why can't you take time alone and reflect about your life? Look at your weaknesses integrate it with your strengths, then you reconstruct your personality. You will move forward, you and me, we shall move forward in courage and strength and face the world as whole people and with reconstructed personalities that can be helpful to the society. And as I said, if we reconstruct ourselves into pots, these pots can be used to fetch water. These pots can be used to give life to other people. So let us learn to move as whole people. Let us learn not to suppress our negative experiences, but to deal with them and accept them, and therefore to live a happy life. Once again, if you like my videos, please don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe so you may follow up the next videos that are upcoming, and also like my videos and comment. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.